I'm not where I thought I'd be. Not even close by now. I thought I'd be someone else. Somewhere else. With someone else. I had a plan. A timeline. A clear picture of what my life was supposed to look like by this age. And I'm standing here looking at where I actually am, and I don't recognize any of it. I'm going to tell you something that's going to break you open and finally let you breathe. Ready? You're not grieving a life you lost. You're grieving a life that never existed. And here's what you don't know yet. You were 12 years old, the first time someone made you believe your worth was tied to your achievements. And you've been chasing a finish line that keeps moving ever since. Stay with me, because what I'm about to show you will rewrite everything you thought you knew about why you feel so behind. It's not the missed milestones that haunt you. It's not the marriage that didn't happen, or the career that didn't take off, or the version of yourself you haven't become yet. It's something so much heavier. You feel like you failed a test no one told you was pass or fail. Like there was a manual for life everyone else got. Like you missed a crucial step, and now you're too far behind to catch up. You look at people your age who have what you thought you'd have. The relationship, the home, the certainty, the sense that they're exactly where they're supposed to be. And you wonder what they know that you don't. What they did right that you did wrong. You're not sad about where you are. You're ashamed that you're not further. And here's what no one tells you. That future you imagined, it was never yours. It was a collection of expectations you absorbed before you knew who you were. Your parents' hopes, society's timeline, your friends' milestones, the life you thought you were supposed to want. You spent years working toward a destination you never chose, and now you're standing at a completely different place, wondering why it feels wrong. Not because you failed, because you succeeded at building someone else's dream. And the worst part, you don't even know what your dream looks like anymore. But the real grief isn't about what didn't happen. The real grief is what you sacrificed while chasing a life that was never meant for you. You said yes to things you didn't want. You stayed in relationships past their expiration. Date because leaving meant admitting you were lost. You took jobs that drained you because at least they looked good on paper. You moved to cities that never felt like home, because that's where you thought successful people lived. You performed happiness at milestones that felt hollow. You smiled in photos that documented a life you were supposed to celebrate but secretly resented. You were so focused on checking boxes that you forgot to ask if you even wanted what was in them. And now you're exhausted. Not from working hard, from working toward a finish line that was never yours to cross. Close your eyes, you're 12 years old again. Can you see it? Can you feel what it felt like to realize, my value is measured by what I accomplish? Maybe it was a parent who only praised you for grades, trophies, achievements. Maybe it was a teacher who made you feel invisible unless you were exceptional. Maybe it was a culture that told you success had a specific shape and anything else was failure. You learned early that love is conditional on productivity, that worth is earned through milestones, that if you just achieved enough, became enough, accumulated enough, you'd finally feel like you were enough. So you started performing. You created a vision of your future self that would finally prove you mattered. You built a timeline that would validate your existence. You turned your life into a race, where falling behind meant losing your worth. You weren't living. You were auditioning for a role in a life you thought would make you valuable. And that's when the truth revealed itself. Not about the life you don't have, about the wound you've been carrying since you were 12 years old. The wound that made you believe your worth was tied to your timeline. The one that whispered, if I'm not where I'm supposed to be, I'm failing. If others are ahead, I'm behind. Maybe I'll never catch up. You didn't create that wound. Life just confirmed it every time. You compared your chapter to someone else's highlight reel. So here's the truth you've been avoiding. The one that's going to hurt. More than anything I've said so far. You weren't afraid of not having the life you planned. You were afraid that not having it meant you weren't worthy of being here at all. That's why the comparison destroyed you. That's why every birthday felt like a deadline. That's why you measured your worth by milestones you never chose. Because accepting the truth would have meant facing something unbearable. You were never behind. You were just running a race that was never yours to win. And then, something broke. Not your dreams. Those had already been dying slowly for years. Something deeper. The belief you'd been carrying since. You were 12 years old. The one that said, "My worth is measured by my progress toward a predetermined destination." That belief. It finally died. The shift didn't happen when you stopped trying. Not when you gave up on the plan. Not when you accepted that your life looks nothing like you thought it would. It happened when you asked yourself a question you'd been running from since childhood. Not why haven't I gotten there yet? But where was I even trying to go? And did I ever actually want to arrive? When you stopped measuring your life against an invisible standard and started looking at what you actually built, when you realized the person you betrayed wasn't the future version of yourself, it was the current one. You stopped racing the day you realized there was no finish line. There was never a moment where you'd finally be done becoming. You were chasing a feeling of completion that doesn't exist. Here's what you learned when you stopped running. The life you have isn't less than the life you planned. It's just different. Different job, different city, different relationship status, different timeline. And maybe, just maybe, it's more honest because the life you imagined was built by a younger version of you who didn't know what you know now, who hadn't lived through what you've lived through, who hadn't discovered what actually matters to you. When the performance ends, the life you planned was a costume. The life you're living is your skin. You don't resent where you are anymore, not the way you used to. Because the shame dissolved the moment you realized you weren't behind. You were just on a different path than the one you thought you were supposed to take. And here's the truth that changes everything. Some of the best things in your life happened because your plan fell apart. The job you took out of desperation that taught you what you actually cared about. The relationship that ended that freed you to discover who you are alone. The city you never planned to live in that became home in ways your dream destination never would have. The version of yourself you became when the timeline collapsed and you had to build something real instead of something impressive. Your plan didn't fail. It just evolved into something you couldn't have imagined. When you were too young to know yourself, you're rebuilding now. Not toward the life you thought you'd have, toward the life you actually want. Someone who knows. Success is not a timeline. Worth is not measured by milestones, and you will never again apologize for being exactly where you are. You are releasing the belief that your life should look like anyone else's. You are honoring the detours that shaped you. You are refusing to measure your pace against someone else's race. You are learning that being lost is not the same as being behind. And if the life you're building doesn't match the life you planned, that's not failure. That's growth, because you finally understand. The life you thought you'd have by now was written by someone who didn't know you yet. Letting it go isn't giving up, it's growing up. So here's the final truth. The one you'll carry forward. You're not behind. You're exactly where you need to be to become who you're meant to be. The life you're building isn't less than the life you planned. It's just more true. And now you know. You don't need to arrive. You need to be here and trust that here is exactly where your story needed to take you. If this landed in your chest like it was written for you, drop a blue heart in the comments. And if you're still measuring yourself against a timeline that was never yours, I need you to hear this one more time. You're not behind. You're exactly where you need to be to become who you're meant to be. Stop racing toward a finish line that doesn't exist. You don't need to arrive. You need to be here. And trust that here is exactly where your story needed to take you. I'll see you in the next one.